الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. فإن طلقها فلا تحل له من بعد حتى تنكح زوجا غيره، فإن طلقها فلا جناح عليهما أن يتراجعا إن ظنا أن يقيم حدود الله، وتلك حدود الله يبينها لقوم يعلمون.
I really enjoyed for Charter. Just on a cinematic point of view, it was very shadow, very dark, lots of blues, lots of grays, lots of extreme close-ups, specifically on Asso. So you can really like get this feeling of this heaviness, this something that he was burdening. And you felt it immediately from this first scene, but you didn't realize necessarily what it was. And I found myself at the end going back to the first scene just to pick up on all those nuances that were missed. And what I noticed throughout the whole film is it feels like he is fighting these urges to stray from these strict religious beliefs that he has. When he dreams, his dream sequences are so light and airy and slow, and it's such a juxtaposition, and they're beautiful. And then you see the reality shots, which are all very heavy and dark and gray and bleak. The scene where he kills the lizard, I remember making a note of that because I'm like, I don't know what that means, but that means something, because it seemed like there's no thought to just how quickly he was able to murder. And that was such a juxtaposition to everything that I believe are in these Muslim teachings that you're supposed to be fundamentally following to the letter. And, you know, instead of scaring the lizard away, you chose to abruptly hit it and kill it. And so I'm like, that feels like foreshadowing. And then you find out later that that is exactly what that moment is. And even the moment is so much foreshadowing in this. Oh, I can go on. The first speech from the first scene is a major foreshadow point that I didn't pick up on until after I finished, and I had to go back and be like, missed that. But it's that moment where they're explaining the law of Allah, and you realize as the movie goes on that, oh, this is actually that was a scripture for him personally. It seems as if this was a woman that he's been with, maybe a wife, who he's possibly left a number of times. And according to the Quran or Allah's law, if you leave your wife 3 times, then you cannot get back with her until she marries and divorces from someone else, or marries someone else and they, you know, pass on. And then only then are you able to get back with that woman after that marriage has come to an end. So it seems like Asu is at this point with his wife or ex-wife, and it seems like he's trying very, very hard to not be tempted by her. The moment he's near her, it's, you know, immediately it's like, I'm refusing to be near you. It's he says a prayer, you know, keep Satan away from me, keep Satan, and she's in his thoughts, and it seems like whatever this decision is something that he really doesn't want to do. They're in the car on their way there, and there's secular music being played, and, you know, there's this moment with the burqa where she kind of seems like a woman who has never had to wear all this covering, or maybe he was not always as strict, and now it seems like he is very much sticking to these ideas of, you need to wear this, you can't listen to this, you need to be following my lead as far as the, you know. And I wondered the whole time, I was like, where did all this come from? Was there a shift? Because she doesn't seem like the type of woman that wants to cover her hair. Her daughter doesn't cover her hair, she doesn't cover her hair in her household, she doesn't wear the face covering, and all of a sudden it's like, no, you got to wear this, we're going out. He takes her to another man's house in which he gives her to be wed, and immediately regrets it. It seems the scene where they're on their marital bed and they're consummating their marriage, and the motion of that juxtaposition of the motion of him comforting himself outside, knowing what's going on inside, was just so powerful. Just great cinema right there. His discomfort was just so potent. And it seems like he immediately after that regretted the idea of this man having what he considered was his, and maybe took her for granted at a time, because if you divorced her 3 times, I would assume that you're taking her for granted, and now you want her back. You could tell she's brokenhearted in her eyes. Her performance is all in her eyes, the way she looks at him with this sense of longing. But once he's married her off, it's essentially it's too late. The other guy is not giving up his wife. He's not divorcing his new wife. He's like, you can have her when I die. And just like that, without much thought, in the same way that he kills this lizard, he kills that man. And then I thought in that moment, that is why the lizard was killed in such a brutal way, is because you needed to see the ability of this man to sin. And immediately after, there is so much remorse in this feeling of, this whole time I've been trying to stay away from this life of sin, and here I am immersed in it. And now this woman hates me because of what I've done to her. And now I've killed a man, there's blood on my hands. And, he just falls to his knees in this despair and just cries out. And there's just such a sense of hopelessness. This is a beautiful film. It was really a beautiful, beautiful film.
I thought this film was really, really beautifully done. I thought visually it was stunning. So much of it was like very dark, but I loved the shadows. I loved the composition. And I also appreciated how you contrasted that, like the one scene that was like really brightly colored where they're all dancing with all the music. I thought that really stuck out, and that was really unique because the rest of the film was so visually dark. I thought that the sound in this was really beautiful and so vivid, and really put me in there with the characters. And I felt like, I thought your camera work was so beautiful that really helped me also invest in the story.
Really a strong film. Definitely the director here has a very keen filmmaking sensibility. There's so much done right on an artistic and even technical level. The scenes are mostly very dark, not overly dark, but we can still make out what's happening. But that definitely suits the tone of the film. So that's really just a smart play there. It's colored really well, framed really well. The performances are really strong, and the dialogue feels very natural to this culture. It sounds like it's performed well. So yeah, all in all, it's a strong film, one worth checking out, and everyone involved should be really proud of this one.
What I loved most about this was the coloring. The blue or gray scale of the entire piece, and in the costuming even, really set the tone for reality, and it didn't register until his dream sequence where everything was in bright color, and not just color but red, which, given his association with his god and not wanting to be drawn to the world of sin, red was the perfect color choice for that. But then the red tied in later too with the woman, the scrunchie around her hand, and that being the sin, and her wearing the sin, which I guess would be her daughter. So it was just a really nice use of this blue versus red, reality versus the dream, but the dream is taboo. It really helped tell the story in a very, very authentic way.
Charter was definitely a very interesting watch. It had heavy tones of religion and customs within the Middle East, and it's very interesting comparing traditions from around the world. For example, the fact that in those customs, women have to stay veiled when they're outside of their house. And what I also found interesting, you could see how she, throughout the film, she's getting frustrated by essentially the fact that a lot of this is making her feel powerless, but I assume either the husband or the lover, but he's so caught up within this religion. It gets to an obsession at points where he essentially becomes blinded by it until he even abandons that, and by the end of the movie he's truly left with nothing. It's definitely dark, but it was a very interesting watch.
Charter does a really great job of, using color to frame each scene. I think you do a great job of foreshadowing. Right off the bat, you let the audience know, what's the mindset of this character and what he's going through that first speech. And then you highlight that through this use of like a grayscale, like a blue grayscale compared to, the use of red. And you see that not only in his dream sequence, but, in this real life as well. It reminds me of, I guess it's Schindler's List, when they use the girl in the red jacket to highlight, what's going on in the scene. But that use of red to show, anger and sin and, everything bad. And you do that really well within this piece. And it really helps clarify a lot of the story and move it along. Just a really interesting piece. It's clear that you had a really clear vision of how you would use color in this piece, and it really pays off, and it really adds a lot to the story and makes it emotionally, it emotionally pulls you in as well as visibly. So just a really, really good job. Very strong take with that.